Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Nana Yayabwa Show. This is Nana Yayabwa with let me hype you up a little bit, LeRon L. Barton, a beautiful human being after my own heart, author, TED speaker, inspirational speaker, motivational speaker, essayist. Oh, it's so much. So I'll leave the rest to you. Now, I became highly interested in Leron's narrative because I was doing something. I listened to a lot of TED Talks, and somebody once pop after I'd listened to one, and I began to listening to it. I said, "Who is this individual? Oh my world!" So that is how I began to dig a little bit more into you. And it's like, okay, enough digging, just reach out. You are coming on my show. I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and said yes for you. And you said yes. And I said, hallelujah. Welcome to the Nanaya.
Thank you so much. Really happy to be here. I'm glad that we were able to connect and allow for me to get on the show. I'm always down to talk to Black folks. You know what I mean? I'm just, and you just have a really good spirit about yourself. So
How could you
ready,
tell? I
ready
just
to
sent
really.
a message.
No, you know what? It's just some things just kind of scream positivity. You know what I mean? Like I like to say that I'm not gonna say like yo I'm all into vibrations, but I do like to kind of get folks energy. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mhm,
just
mhm, mhm.
you just have a really good heart. So I'm always down to do stuff like that.
Oh, I appreciate. But when I started this podcast, it used to be called Literary Voices.
Mhm.
And the intention was authors because of storytelling. But
Right.
it changed really to inspiration and motivation. How do we tell our authentic narratives to
Right.
inspire? Yes. But for me as well, there is an underpinning purpose for this narrative, which is also bridging the gap between Africans all around from the continent and the
Right.
diaspora, which you and I are in the diaspora.
Absolutely.
So bridging that gap. So every content that I do or create or have conversations with, the question is, if there's a young Black boy or there's a young African who just recently came here, what can they learn from you as an African
Right.
American, the narratives of your experience, the
Absolutely.
wisdom you bring to impact? So that is my selfishness. Well, okay, scratch that. My intentions
Right.
with this podcast. So when I see and hear amazing human beings like you, it's like, oh, no,
Thank
no,
you.
no, no. Please, 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 brother, please.
That's
You
what's up.
gotta talk to your girl. Okay. So, who is LeRon L. Barton?
Yeah. Well, I am for one, I'm a child of God. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a grandson. I'm a cousin. I'm a friend. I'm a partner. I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I'm just a student of life. I'm
Mhm.
a very inquisitive person, and because of that, that inquisitivity, if that's a word, has
Mhm.
just sort of taken me to do different things. I'm always looking to learn and looking to hear other people's experiences, because for me, listening to people's stories, it's just it's such an integral part of your life. You know what I
It's
mean? Because
true.
you learn so many things from listening to people talk about what they've been through, what they're doing, what they like, the challenges that they face. You learn from actually listening to the way people talk.
Mhm.
I'm a lover of accents, of dialects, of different languages, and I there it's such a rhythm and just the way people tell a story, and everyone has stories, and it's just like I wish Nana, yeah, I wish that more people were confident to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna tell my story, and people are gonna people are gonna want to hear it because look, there's I believe that there's like 350, 360 million people in the United States alone, and everyone has a different experience. And so,
Mm-hmm.
going outside of the continent, going to Africa, going to Canada, going to France, going to the Caribbean. I mean, we all have different experiences, and there's so much to be learned, so much to be shared by listening to people's experiences.
Indeed, that is true. Why do you think people are not confident in sharing their stories?
Because people feel like that you have to have accomplished this crazy thing for you to be worthy to tell your story. People think that you have to do something grand like a Bill Gates, like a Elon Musk, that you have to
Mm,
be famous, that if you're not doing something outrageously huge, or if you're not coming from a circumstance that is
mhm,
like uh, violent to say the least, then
mhm,
your story's not it's not worthy. Also, and this is chiefly Nana, I believe the world tells Black people specifically that your narrative is not worth hearing,
mhm,
because we live in a system of racism, white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and
mhm,
Malcolm X talked about worldwide white supremacy.
mhm,
So when we're inundated with images of just nothing but just white people doing things, white people being the standard of excellence,
mm,
and you and I, we're not white. Well, that says, well, we're not excellent, so our stories must not be excellent. But
mhm,
that is the total opposite.
mhm,
Black people, we have a resilience that is unlike anybody on this planet. Just what we've been through to be where we are today, the fact that we've had to fight off racism, colonialism, um, tribalism, amongst our own, to be able to step one foot after the other every single day to be who we are, is nothing short of exceptional and phenomenal. So just knowing our history, knowing what we do every single day, why would you not think we're worthy?
mm, 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 mm. We are worthy. As you speaking, I was thinking of this Nigerian author Chimanda Adichie, when he she gave a
Things fall apart, right?
no Chimanda, it's you're talking about Chinua Achebe. He
Oh, right,
wrote,
yeah.
yeah,
My bad.
yeah. Chimanda Adichie is more of maybe about 46, 47 years old, more of this generation. Yeah. She gave a TED talk, the power of the danger of a single story. So
I believe that I heard of that TED talk
yes,
too.
2 or 3 days ago, it kind of like it popped up in my feed again. And as you were talking, it just kept coming to my mind, that what you saying is that all stories matter. It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
whether you are up there or low, all stories matter. We all have something to share and people to learn from. And so today we're going to learn from your story. Yes, yes. But the how did you become the man you are today? Because when somebody looks at you on this stage, you writing, you doing this, you doing that, and I'm still at the bottom, and I see you on up on the stage. I wonder, or one may wonder, how did you get there? So if I'm a young man looking at you, what would you tell me about your journey to be where you are at this
Sure.
moment?
So, first off, no one gets to where they are alone, right? I mean, there's no such thing as a self-made man. Like, that's a fallacy. That's like that's a fairy tale, right?
Mhm,
So I got here, first off, again, I'm a Catholic. I'm a follower of God. That's first. Secondly, I had a really supportive mother.
Mm-hmm.
See, I come from a family of artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my mother, she read and she drew. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he was a gifted painter, as well as a craftsman. My aunt, she drew, as far as fashion, and
Mm-hmm.
she's a phenomenal baker. You know, she she's I mean, she's a pastry chef, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh my father, he acts, I mean, like he acts at the Met, the Metropolitan Art in New York City.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My grandmother is a voracious reader, so all these things kind of birth, who I am. I had
Mm-hmm.
a great mentor by the name of Stan Banks. I call him Mr. Banks. He was my 11th and 12th grade teacher
Mm-hmm.
in Paseo Academy. Just,
Mm-hmm.
but also I knew that writing was the thing that I was sort of meant to do. Jay-Z once said, "We all have a genius level talent. We just
Mm-hmm.
have to figure out what it is."
Mm-hmm.
And I believe mine's is writing. So to get to where I am, like, I had the support, but also I wrote a lot. I was turned down a lot. I mean, I failed quite a bit. None of y'all, like, my books, the second one that you're holding
Mm-hmm.
in your hand did not sell. Some people have not liked my writing. I wrote
Mm-hmm.
my first play when I was in high school, and the actors laughed at it. The people reading the dialogue thought that it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was laughed out of a classroom. But I just knew that I had to keep going. And that's what I would impress on anyone, is like, you have to keep going. Things get very, very tough. It's hard to be turned down, right? I mean, failure, or just it's not even failure. It's just refusal to work with you, being denied.
Mm-hmm.
My first book, Straight Dope, I tried to find a literary agent. I got turned down like 30 times. So, you have to think about that. You're constantly being like told, no, this isn't
Mm-hmm.
the right idea. No, thank you. We're not doing that. And it wasn't until I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be comfortable with someone telling you no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You gotta, you have to be comfortable with your work not being received well,
Mm-hmm.
because not everyone's gonna like you, right? I mean, like, universal acclaim does not exist. So there's a lot of things, as a writer, you have to be familiar with. You gotta be comfortable with people saying that you're terrible,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to know that not everyone's going to like your stuff. And so once you build up this resilience, this sort of armor, then you're like, okay, this publication didn't want my essay. All right, cool, boom. Let me move over to the other one. You have to look at people turning you down as just another part of life. Be like, all right, move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Build resilience. Beautiful. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Listen, I was writing, taking notes whilst you were speaking. So you can't see me, but I'm
Thank
taking
you.
notes. Yes. And that's one of the beautiful things about, having the opportunity to do the podcast, or the show, is that I get to speak with marvelous human beings like yourself, whom
Thank you.
otherwise, I'll read, yes, I'll get a little something, but learning, listening to you speak, listening to even the intonations, your journey gives me hope. It does give me hope. Yes,
Thank you.
yesterday when I told somebody that I do podcast, and they asked me, a Ghanaian do podcast here in Toronto, in Canada. I said,
Why
yes.
not?
It's like, oh, I didn't know. I said, now you know. So just follow me. It's as simple as
Absolutely.
yes, yes, yes. Now, so we've been talking, you telling your story. Why is telling your story important to you? Because some people just want to say for saying sake, but for you, why is this important?
It's a very good question. So, I am not an individual, and I really want people to understand what I'm saying by that. Is like, I'm not an individual, I'm part of a collective.
Mhm,
So, when I say that I'm a part of a collective, means that what I do, I want to affect other folks in a positive level. So I know, and I would like to think and I hope that my story can help
mhm,
others. Listen, I'm from the ghetto, right? I mean, I was raised primarily by a single mother. Um, I flunked out of a I guess a hoity-toity gifted high school program, middle school program.
mhm,
Um, I I faced it all. So when you see me, you see someone that has been arrested, someone that has, got into trouble and who's been able to clean themselves up.
mhm,
And so I just hope that the what I'm writing, the information that I'm disseminating, the topics that I cover, Nana, yeah, I hope that this resonates with
mhm,
other people. I want my story to serve as a, I guess, an inspiration point,
mhm,
saying that, like, look, if I can come from where I'm coming from, so can you.
mhm,
And this is not to say that it's not hard work, because it is.
mhm,
It's being denied and being told that you're not this, you're not that. I mean, happens happens all the time. I mean, like a friend of mine told me recently, success is not linear,
mhm.
right? You're like, success is like this.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's it's not like this. It's just
Mhm,
everywhere,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I want people to know that if I can tell my story, then you can tell your story. Listen, I have a stutter, right? I mean, if someone listens to me or if you talk to me for an extended period of time, you can hear it. It's something I've been having since the age of 5 or 6. Hey, you know what? It's not a damn thing that I can do about it. However, I want you to know that if I have a stutter and if I'm on these stages, there's no excuse for you not to do that. Like, we have to think of ourselves as being much more than what we are.
mhm,
And it's hard, Nadia, because we as a people, we've been told we are nothing for an extremely long time.
mhm,
So we're fighting up that hill. And what they call black excellence is usually like mega millionaires and all this foolishness. But black excellence can be you and I making moves.
mhm,
Just touching folks and just lifting them
mhm,
up. I mean, because when I say that I'm not an individual, what I do, I'm always hoping will positively affect the people coming
mhm,
after me so they can excel farther than me,
mhm,
because it's not about me.
mhm,
It never was, and it never is, and it never will be.
mhm, mhm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You touched on a hidden, you know, for lack of a better word, disability. And
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
and that's one of my very good friends actually works with children with disabilities in Ghana. She runs an
Mhm.
NGO, and looking at her,
Wow,
you
that's
would never
awesome.
see, but she is dyslexic. And those are the
Mhm.
hidden disabilities. So when I heard your story and so I was watching that TED talk, It's like I don't hear anything. And if you speaking,
It's a lot of practice. A lot of practice.
exactly, exactly. And even what's the name of this Steve, that the comedian,
Um, gosh, Steve Harvey, is
Steve
that him?
Harvey. Steve Harvey
Yes.
also indicated that he also had a stutter. So,
Wow, I did not know that.
yes. So when I heard your story and I related to it, I said, no, this is amazing because somebody will let this impede them. If yeah,
100%.
Steve has been able to do it. Maybe if I connect with him, I'm too much of a small fish. He wouldn't even recognize like what the heck.
You never
You
know.
never know.
You know,
Small
like
fishes can even
you,
make an
you
impact.
absolutely 100%.
Yeah. So it's like this hidden disability. You said it started at 5. You working, tediously towards it. How did you overcome that self confidence to say that, irrespective of this and the challenges you faced with this, you are the, LeRon that I am having this conversation with right
Right,
now?
right. So my stutter has been a humongous part of my life, right? I mean, none of y'all like I've let my stutter just stop me from doing a lot of stuff, from
Mhm.
speaking up, from speaking out, not raising my hand in class, so people would not make fun of me because I was so afraid to stutter. It stopped me from dating women. It stopped me from getting involved. Um, it stopped me
Did you see
from
my eyes?
and I'm serious, real talk, real talk, real conversation. It stopped me from going after certain jobs. Like I was so afraid to stutter,
Mhm.
and so because I've been made fun of. I mean, kids can be cruel.
Yes.
I mean, kids would just be, well, they would just as we say in the hood, they would just drive me, and so you know I've seen people kind of smirk or kind of smile when I would stutter and get a couple of drinks in me and it gets even more large. I'm just like I mean it's
What kind
just
of drink?
I can just be
Tequila?
one one 100. So I'm a tequila, vodka, and champagne guy. So I mean, love me some champs, but just it
Mhm.
would just become just like so pronounced, and so
Mhm.
I remember one day, I'll never forget this. When I lived in San Francisco at the time,
Mhm.
I would go to this church called Glide Church, right? And so Glide Church is a place. It's a Unitarian, or it's just basically like a church. Welcome to
Of
all
faith.
denominations,
Okay.
right? And so yeah, I'm just gonna put my glasses back on. And
Mhm.
so this was during like the Mike Brown uprisings in the states.
Mhm.
And so Glide, they asked me, hey, would you come on stage and give a talk? And I was like, sure. And so I got on stage, none of y'all, and I stuttered so bad. It was so terrible. I mean, I couldn't get a word in. Like it was bad. And so I never forget this as long as I live. The guy from this band called Spearhead, Michael Franti,
Mhm.
as I was getting off the stage, he said, hey man, good job. And I was like, bro, you know that I sounded bad. So I got a chance. So, when I got home, I said to myself, I was like, Ron, maybe this speaking thing just ain't for you. And for me, like accepting that defeat, it never set right with me.
Mhm.
So I got a chance to do it again. And so I just practice. I wrote a speech. I must have practiced that speech at least 30, 40, maybe 80 times.
Wow.
I went on stage again, delivered it really good. It wasn't great, but it was really good. And so from there, I knew that if I practice and if I dedicated enough time towards something, Nanaya, I could do anything. And giving a TED talk was one of my all-time goals, right? I remember listening to the late great Sir Ken Robinson,
Mhm.
and he did a talk on education, which was just unbelievable. Like
Mhm.
it was unbelievable. And so I said to myself, like, yo, I want to do that. I was driving on like 880 in the Bay Area. So I said to myself, I want to give a TEDx. And so when I got a chance to do one, I wanted to do it on what was the most personal thing in my life, which is my stutter. And again, it's if you look at it, doing a TEDx is like TED is one of the most respected platforms
Mhm.
of speakers in the entire world, right? And so I'm giving a TEDx. I have a stutter. It's just logically it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But I was able to do that, and so when I did that, Nadia, like I conquered my fear. Like I was like, you know what? I'm no longer afraid to talk to. I'm not going to let this hold me hostage anymore.
Mhm.
And that happened to me when I was 40. And I was like, you know what? Nah, we're not doing this. Yo, I'm just going to talk. And if I stutter, so what? And people, what I realized is people weren't really paying attention. I was paying more attention to
Mm.
it. And yeah, I mean, like that's when that's when I defeated that. And I rarely have a fear of doing any kind of talking right now.
Beautiful. So it's one of those things, psychologically. You did mention fear, and for the most part, fear has crippled many of us. And that's one
Absolutely.
of the biggest topics that I would really in the future love to just hone in on. How we
Mhm.
allow fear to just, and self-judgments just to cripple us and get us out of our futures. If I was afraid, I wouldn't have reached out to you.
Absolutely.
So,
You know what? It's like so we all have fear. Like fear is very it's a very natural
mhm.
thing, right? Like, being afraid of something. I mean, it's we all have our fears, but we have to think about it like what's the worst thing that can happen,
No,
right? So,
you telling me no,
so you
that's
so
it.
exactly, yeah. I mean, and I'll never forget this. I was uh I was at this party. I was gosh, it must have been like 16, 17 years ago, right?
Mhm.
So actually it was a little longer than yeah. Say about 18 years ago. I was at a party with a friend. This this was a New Year's Eve party. And I was telling this guy, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of afraid to talk to this girl. And he was like, okay, look, let me ask you a question. If you go to a store and if that store doesn't have the chips you want, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to go to another store. And he's like, exactly. He's like, look, no one ever died from being told no. And that just, it kind of made me think about it. I was like, look, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like someone telling you no is not going to damage your life. I mean, it may hurt you at that time for a short
Mhm.
period, but as I said earlier, Nana, y'all, like we have to get used to no. Like no is not final.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And honestly, like, look, someone tells you no, all right, look, cool. So I've been trying to write for the New York Times, and really, I've been trying to write for Esquire, right?
Mm.
Those are Esquire, New York Times, GQ. Those are the three ones, and as well as say USA Today. I haven't gotten any of my pitches to get through there yet, and I say yet, but I'm gonna keep going. See, when you the only time you fail is when you stop, right? A no is just all right. Maybe it's not at this time. Maybe what you're given isn't what they want. Maybe your approach isn't what they want. But we cannot let one instance deter us from making and completing our goals.
Mhm.
And that's what I've done.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, Okay, okay, okay. I'm trying. I am
it's
trying. I
all
am
it's
trying.
all good.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You just made my day. Now I'm not sure where I read this from. Oh, I think in one of your online TED Talks, and I'm going to quote it to you. Art lives in history, and history lives in art. You did say that art lives in history and history lives in art.
Wow,
I said, whoa, I gotta write this
that's
down.
that's real. That's real. No, like art and history cannot be separated. They are they go they are simpatico. They simply, if you want to know about history, research art. I have a good friend. Her name's Veronica. She is very studied in art history, and you know we were talking about just different periods in art, and you can trace society through the art that was made at that time, whether it be painting, whether it be architecture, whether it be music, movies, literature. The art is like a roadmap, is like a
Mm,
time capsule for that period of time. For example, during the civil rights movement in the 60s, you had a lot of groups creating a lot of political music and movements. That is a time capsule. Ice Cube's Death Certificate is what I consider to be the greatest rap album ever made. It was in 1991. It captures that period in Los Angeles where gang banging and crack and people trying to figure things out. So if you want to know what
which
is a
music was
snapshot
that?
in Ice Cube's Death Certificate is a rap album. It's
Oh,
1991. Yep, 1991. And so
mm-hmm.
it captures like what was going on in the country for Black America at the time better than anything. So that is the history of that time, and it's captured via art. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like art is the storytelling of what is
Yes.
going
Yes,
on.
ma'am.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. I was like, I had a question that I was about to ask, but I have the answer. I was about to ask you whether you're an optimistic person or a pessimist, but all the answers point to optimism.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I'm a realist, right?
Ah,
I'm an optimist about some things, right? I
mm,
know I'm I'm an optimist for about us, about Black folks. I'm very optimistic that we will forever continue to rise because that's been our trajectory throughout life.
mhm,
I'm a realist when it comes to racism because I don't think that it
mm.
will ever go away. The late great Derek Bell, God rest his soul, he's a creator of the critical race theory. It's
Oh,
a theory that, yes, ma'am.
mm,
So yeah, so I mean,
mm.
so Derek Bell, he wrote a book called "Faces at the Bottom of the Well," and he talked about it. It's a term he came up with. It's called the permanence of racism,
Mhm,
and what that means is that racism will always be there. It's permanently lodged into life, especially in the Americas. Well, I
mhm.
mean, just like around the world,
It
period.
is
But
around, yeah.
racism is in the fabric of our life. It's the water, right? So if Fisher, it's like if
Mhm,
you ask a fish what is water, he or she will be like, what are you talking about? You know
mhm,
what I mean? So it's just there. So I'm a I'm an optimist for us because as I said earlier, Nana Yah, like we are a very uh, resilient people, but I'm not an optimist for how will racism go away? Will
Mm-hmm.
will we be treated better? Like it's a system, it's a Michelle Alexander in her book, The New Jim Crow, she talks about racism as just being this sort of this being that constantly changes throughout time, and it just sort of fits with the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is like forever changing, so it will always be there to disrupt and to just hurt black folks. That's
Mm-hmm.
our lot in life, unfortunately. Sorry, excuse me.
It's okay. Wow. It's So when you're talking about racism and discrimination and everything, and
Mhm.
yesterday I had a beautiful conversation with a gentleman called Michael from down in Texas. Came to do um, had the black blacks in technology conference, and he did,
Sure.
yes, he did make very some assertive, basically the conversation was enlightening, but the part that many of us didn't get was that the black, I would say the African American experience and our experience as recent diasporans are different. And to better
100%.
understand, yes, my understanding of racism, discrimination was based on the African American, Black Canadian narratives of experience, of breaking it down. Because when you're coming from a system or a culture whereby you had no idea who you were, in the sense that color, you were not a black person, you were from an ethnic group, you were from a tribe, you spoke a certain language.
Sure.
Racism had nothing to do in your language until you come to this part
Right.
of the world, and then you are told you're black, you fit this box. You are white, you fit this box. You are Asian or you're indigenous, you fit this box. And because you are black, then that becomes the opportunity to be discriminated against. So that it is a hard sell for some of us, but our better understanding and gaining of understanding is from the journeys that I'll say, the journeys and the fights that many Black Canadians and African Americans have fought to be able to allow us to be here. The fights of Martin Luther King, um, Ed,
100%.
yes, and how do you call it, Maya Angelou's, and all those have enabled
Right.
me to be this kind of woman here, occupying this space. So on that note, I'll say whatever your experiences are, it's transforming. And this is bridging those conversations so that those that don't know,
Thank
don't
you.
understand, should understand
Thank you.
that I did not just come
100%.
here and be, somebody was here, fought, blood, sweat for me to
Right.
be able to, yeah.
Like I want to touch on that because a lot of people in America, and I'm pretty sure I'm confident that it's fairly similar in Canada and other parts of the world. We're so enamored by this pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? I came here, I worked hard, I was able to, come up and, be successful, and there's no excuses. But see, you got to understand that again, that's not real, right? Like meritocracy is as real as the Easter bunny. It just
Mhm.
doesn't exist. Like, much of people's success, none of y'all, is based on social capital. It's all about who you know. It's not what you know. You know, much of the wealth in the states is generational. So it's not my grandmother's, not my great grandmother's, but my great great grandmother's family, my great great grandfather's family. So this is monies, and these are funds that were here before our grandparents. So much of wealth is passed down. So when you have that, and when a lot of people come over here, they ask like, well, how come black folks haven't been able to get where they're going? To ask that question tells me you are not educated in our experience in America. Because so I got to the Legacy Museum. It's in Montgomery, Alabama. The
Mm-hmm.
Legacy Museum was started by the Equal Justice Initiative. It was co-founded or founded by a gentleman by the name of Brian Stevenson. There was a movie uh, based on his life, Just Mercy, with
Oh,
Michael B. Jordan.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't watched
And
it. That
so
means I need to go watch it.
so Brian Steve, oh yeah, it's a very good movie. Brian
Mhm.
Stevenson, he's what I call a black superhero, right? I mean, like he's the man. Like just full stop. He's unbelievable. And
Mhm.
so just the Legacy Museum, what
Mhm.
it does is it traces our start from coming to America in 1619 and every obstacle that we've had to go through. It is the most important museum I've ever been to. I mean, it's changed my life. And so the reason why that I bring it up is like some people say, okay, well, how come black people can't get off their butt? Well, to ask that is to say you're just not learned enough. Some people think, okay, well, get over slavery. All right, cool. So we had which was an extremely violent time in America. We had the black codes. We had convict leasing. We had Jim Crow, separate but equal. The civil rights movement. We've had the war on drugs. The age of mass incarceration. Redlining, covenants. We've
Mhm.
had just targeted assassinations. I mean, lynchings. Like there's so many obstacles that we've had to go through in this country, and this is why I say we are the people of resilience. So to put it into perspective, just imagine you you try to build wealth for your family, right? Let's just use Tulsa for an example. For those who don't
Mhm.
know, in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Black
there was an
Wall Street.
area, or there isn't. Yes, yes, ma'am. It's a neighborhood called Greenwood, I believe.
Mhm.
Black Wall Street, right?
Mhm.
So because of a white woman lying on a black man, that part of town was attacked. It was destroyed. It was burned. Black people left. See, there's a point in America. It's called the Great Migration, which
Mhm.
what that means, Nana Yah, is like black people in the South left the South because it was so dangerous. It was so just deadly, and moved up north, right? So what do you think happened to all those homes that we left, all those businesses? White folks came in, just gobbled them up, right? So so you have to think, Neely Fuller's he's an anti-racist practitioner. He always says black people are always on the move, right? So when you're constantly moving, you don't get a chance to really put foundation of roots down. Do you want to
You're
know
not
why black
rooted.
folks are
Yeah.
constantly on? Exactly. You're not rooted. So just off the fact of everything that we went through, and we're still here. I mean, it's a testament to who we are.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
There is another quote from you, by you.
Let's get it.
Hey, say, as I began to share who I am with more of the world, I became a better version of moi. It's like,
One
oh my
100%.
goodness. This is when we say mic drop.
Thank you.
Whoa. So,
You
mhm,
yes.
I'm listening.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let's talk about mental health.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What are your views on black men and mental health when it intersects with race or racism?
So, that's a very important question. So, we're just talking black men specifically, right?
Yes.
So, we are the most incarcerated, the most undereducated, the people with the lowest life expectancy. We are the biggest homeless population, right? We are the most arrested. We are shot and killed by the police in numbers that other groups don't even come close, right? And this is just
Mhm,
black men specifically, not a y'all. So when we are living with that, that is bound to affect your psyche.
mhm,
I think that every black person in America needs to see a mental health practitioner. I think every black person around the world
mhm,
needs to see a mental health practitioner, specifically black men, because being a black man, and I would say my generation coming up, it was a very linear box, right? It's
mhm,
like you have to be this tough, rough and tumble guy, alpha male person. You got to be able to throw down. You can't be someone who is vulnerable, someone who shows feelings. You know, you couldn't be gay. You had to hide it. You couldn't act any other way than this straight standard black man.
mhm,
And so couple that with just the belief that going to see a mental health professional is a sign of weakness. It's really caused black men to sort of not trust in the mental health profession. See, a lot of us don't have places that we can go to and talk and be vulnerable, cry. I mean, coming up, seeing a cat cry was just unheard of. Like we just didn't see it.
mhm,
And I would say that one of the best things that I've ever done is that I've seen a therapist.
mhm,
Just imagine someone there to exclusively
mhm,
help you dig through
mhm,
and to just sort of solve the puzzle
mhm,
that you have. It's not
mhm,
about anybody else. It's not about your mama, your girl, your brother, your cousin, your boss, whatever. It's about you. And a lot of us tend to bottle things up, right? We
mhm,
tend to hold on to it.
mhm,
And and I know that when you bottle something up, when you hold on to something, it has to be released somewhere. So it could be self-medication through drugs, alcohol, it could be through violence, it could be through self-harm,
mhm,
it could cause mental strain. I mean, there's so many bad things that can happen by not talking to somebody.
mhm,
Look, black boys commit suicide at a pretty high rate.
mhm,
Black men, we have high blood pressure. We could be victims of just heart attacks. And I
mhm,
mean, there's so many possibilities that could
mhm,
happen to us if we do not talk to somebody.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
this is why I implore black men, if you are a black man, please listen to this.
mhm,
Go see a therapist, make an appointment.
mhm,
It'll be one of the best things that you ever do,
mhm,
because when you do that, Nanaya, you become a better partner, a better
mhm,
friend, a better son, a better father, a better brother, a better
mhm,
employee. Like there's no negatives to
mhm,
going to see a mental health therapist.
mhm, mhm. Great. I was speaking to somebody. It's like, We all have gone through some trauma at one point in our lives or
Oh my
another.
God.
Subconsciously, it does affect us, and we may not think about it, but it has impact in our lives. And as you said, it is true that we all need, well, some of us need to see a therapist to dig within ourselves to become better human beings. But I think I'm an excellent human being. You know what I mean? That's a
I
joke.
I think you're pretty awesome for real. Like you're like but you know what, Nadia, listen, like
Mhm.
even even Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
had a shooting coach. So I'm just saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he was
Hmm.
pretty phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yes.
just, I'm just letting you know that.
Thank you. Now, since you're saying how to
You're welcome.
shooting coach, my next question, just throw it off. Mentorship. I've been
Yes.
on this. I wouldn't say a bandwagon, but for many of our young Black men and women, I've been on this mandate of if I meet an older person and a younger person, mentorship. What does mentorship mean to you, and do you think it is important?
I think it's extremely important.
Mm,
You know, as I said earlier, you know, Stan Banks was a vital mentor to
mhm,
myself. I've had older friends of mine that have, you know, pulled me to the side, shown me
mhm,
different things, giving me a different point of view that
mhm,
I've needed. I think with a mentor, he or she can give you tools that they did not have,
mhm,
that will allow you to, you know, avoid some of the pitfalls, you know, avoid some of the negative experiences, but
mhm,
also give you information on how to achieve your goals quicker and just finally be a sounding board for you.
mhm,
You know, I was a mentor to a young Black man when I lived in San Francisco for a little over a year,
mhm,
you know, and it was really fun just how, you know, we would just go to grab food, you know, talk, you know, we would uh, work out, talk. Like, sorry, like I was one of those guys like where he could tell me stuff that, you know, he can tell his mom. And I think that people need folks that they can talk to, you know, and be able to relate in a different way than your than than your parents, because I guarantee you a young person is not going to be telling mom and daddy everything,
mhm,
but they will tell me something that they wouldn't tell their mother and father, because I'm not coming from a perspective of a authority figure. I'm a trusted confidant.
mhm,
And so I think that mentorship is definitely is 100% needed. Like, you know, everybody needs a mentor.
mhm,
It it can't help. It can I mean, like, I'm sorry, it can't hurt. It can only help.
mhm. Beautiful. Wow. Thank you. All we really need is love. I need myself some love too. Mm-mm-mm.
Yes.
So we've talked about all the other heavy stuff. We've done our warm up.
Mhm.
Now we get to this part, the challenges
Yes.
that we
Yes,
do
ma'am.
have. So, what inspired the writing of this book? So this is your second book.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I
Yes, ma'am.
actually got both, but I didn't read that one. I am
Oh,
biased.
really? So you ran to
This
that
is
one.
my
Ah, that's
bias.
what's up.
It was by
You
my
know,
bedside till I think yesterday that I brought it into the
mhm,
studio.
that's awesome. Thank you so much. You know, I I've always liked to, you know, hear about love stories. You know, for some reason love stories they're so fun, and they're so like, oh my God, for real, that's what happened. That's what's up. Like, you know, it's such a, when people talk, so my first book was about drugs, and my second book is about love. And the when you talk to people about their love life, there's a level of vulnerability that they have that you can't get anywhere else. And love stories are magical, man. Like they can just sort of go anywhere. Like they're just so wonderful to hear. And I, you know, with the two books, I was inspired, still am inspired by the late great Studs Terkel. Is like one of my favorite writers of all time. Studs would just pick a topic and he would just listen to people talk. Like he would just ask questions and he would just listen to people talk. And so I wanted to do something very similar to that. And so when you get people talking about love, Nanaya, people will let loose. You want to talk about relationships? Cool. Let's go. How much time do you have? And the conversations were so full and bold and fun. And I was like, man, like this has to be a book. And I've always been a student of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
I watch silly reality shows of, but like I love 90 Day Fiance. I love Married at First Sight. Like, yeah, like those shows, as ridiculous as they are, it shows like humans in this place. Is like, oh, okay. So yeah, like, doing that book, it was a no-brainer.
Mm. Wow, beautiful. So how did you get all these people coming together? I think I read, if I don't want to misquote you. So you give me the answer. How did you get all these beautiful people to send in their narratives to be part of this collection?
Very good question. So I would just like ask around.
Mm,
I put ads on Craigslist, and I would just ask, hey, does anyone wanna tell a love story? I'm paying X amount,
mhm,
and some people I would take them out for coffee. Some people I would take them out to lunch,
mhm,
or dinner, and I just turn the tape recorder on, play, ask some questions, and just sort of like let it rip. And I wanted to get a large swath of type of different people,
mhm,
from folks who were, gay, straight, black,
mhm,
white, Latino, Asian, young, old, like long distance,
mhm,
traditional people who have been married, people who have been divorced, people who've never been married.
mhm,
Like it's sort of all in there.
mhm,
And I think the major theme from all the stories, Nana Ya, was like people just really want to be loved.
mhm,
People. It's all about communication, and people just want someone that can love them, and that's just pretty much it.
it is indeed very true. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking we all want love. All we really need is love. But then it becomes a very murky path. Sometimes it becomes a very murky path that leaves people by, we jump out of it and stand, um, say, enough of this, enough of this. Eh,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that is correct.
So have you found, I know the answer will be yes. What are some of your
You
love
know,
journey challenges?
man. So my biggest challenge has been the fact that I don't put up boundaries, right? So you know, gosh, there's a couple. Sometimes I feel like that I'm not heard, and so that's because I need to speak up. But I don't want to cause tumult. I don't like conflict in a relationship. I just like things to just, as I say, be low and slow, right? I I just want us to be cool, right? So like, if I have to grit my teeth, I'll do that. But the problem is that when I don't express what I want, then I become resentful. And
Mm,
so, and it's because I don't want to upset the other person. Also, if I'm just being brutally honest, like I have a wandering eye, you know. I love women. You like, I love women, like, because you all are just so different than men. I'm just fascinated. Like, I just love talking to women, and so that can kind of get me in trouble. And you like, just being honest, like, what I'm saying, like, you know, so
I, I,
yeah,
I, I
those,
I
yeah,
will tell you a little story about me. How
please.
so? How do we call it? I have been told I'm very flirty. Now,
No,
e-
shocker.
well, but I never realized that because I'm a conversationalist, and
Right.
apparently I flirt a lot.
It's nothing wrong with flirting.
For me,
It's
it's
not. It's just,
comedic. I'm having fun. But
yes,
apparently,
ma'am.
a few people have hit on me, and I was clueless because I was having fun at their expense. But they took it differently. But I had no idea. And apparently, they were good people. But so I need to be mindful and careful.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, we don't want to rub people the wrong
Yes.
way, right?
So now let's come to you. This is what I have found. Women, many
Hmm.
women love to talk. And if I use
Hmm.
myself as an example, I love to dig. Maybe because of interviews or my personality or
Hmm.
my profession or just by nature who I am. I love to get to the root of whatever we are having a conversation about or disagreement about. And I'm one of those who will insist, let's dig, resolve. If I need to apologize, I apologize to you. I do not want the following day to, come and then we still, it's festering, like you said, it is festering.
Sure.
But then I realize also that because I do not like things to fester,
Hmm.
some people also don't like to be confronted with actually having those hard conversations. I'm comfortable with hard
Absolutely.
conversations, but many men may not be comfortable with that. How
Right.
do you bridge this?
It's so I'm definitely one of those guys. Like, so I consider myself to be a great listener. Like, I love, again, like, you and I, we have a very good rapport. We can have a conversation for days on end. I feel like for me, not none of y'all, like, I see a lot of men. We don't want to make a woman cry. We don't want to hurt y'all, but a lot of men, we overestimate our power.
Mm,
So we think, oh, if I tell this, I'm just gonna crush her. Oh my god. But what we don't understand is, like, that woman, she's gonna be all right. Yes, it may hurt her at that time, but she's gonna be okay.
mhm,
And so I think we tend to overestimate
mhm,
our impact. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah, we don't want to, we we don't, a lot of men have a difficult time expressing how they feel, because some of them may have never been heard before.
mhm,
Some of them may have never had a woman to actually care about what
mhm,
they have to say. And because of that, they've never really, like, if you're not hearing what I have to say, why should I talk about it? But yeah, that could be a couple reasons why.
There was some time ago, I asked an older gentleman. The wife was pretty tough cookie. I even noticed that. And I asked the older gentleman, how do you navigate with your wife? She said, I just take my hearing aids out. She talks, I don't hear anything.
Wow. 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 Damn.
So,
Damn, that's raw.
so,
That is really rough.
so, but they've been married for 30 something years, 40 years.
Wow. Oh my God, yo, that is rough.
I see you do the sign of the cross so much. You Catholic.
110 is the best thing that I've ever done. Like, wow. So he takes the hearing aids out like that. Oof. Ugh, I mean, but like, was she like was the woman, was she just kind of rough? Like, was she like
A tough
like,
one. Yeah. A tough one.
yeah, see, you know what, like honestly, at this point, am like Nana, yeah. And unfortunately, I have to go with the next 5 minutes.
Hmm.
But like, I don't want to deal with any more stress than what I have to.
Hmm.
So if like my former fiance, she could be difficult. So I understand it. It's just like to the point where it's like a man, he kind of mentally checks out. He's like, all right, look, I'm I'm just waiting for the right time. You know what I mean? He didn't left months ago, like a year ago. He been gone. He's already imagining himself with another woman.
Hmm.
And so that man's like, yo, what what now? Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Which
but
is rather unfortunate. But like you said,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Which is
yeah.
unfortunate though, because like the communication has just kind of broke down,
Yes,
you know?
and that's the biggest factor that I find. Communication is a big factor
Yes, ma'am.
across the board when it comes to relationships and um, listening. Be- I think many
Absolutely.
of us need to find courses, do courses, have experience in just listening to others
Right.
speak
Absolutely.
and not say anything, just listening.
Absolutely.
And when
Just be
just
quiet.
be quiet. And when it's the other's turn, and when it's your turn, the other also listen. And if there are any apologies rendered, it will not happen. Word choices, etc., etc., etc.
Absolutely.
So, what should I expect from you? I'm not asking for other people. I'm asking for myself. In ca-
You know,
I know you're an
honestly, Nana,
incubator.
yeah,
Things are brewing.
yeah, so man, like something really big happened for me this week. I can't announce it until next week, but just, that's gonna be popping. I'm going to take a break from writing for a little bit, because I've just been so, like steady this year. I'm gonna take a couple months off. I'm not gonna publish anything. Right now, I'm working on a concept about how to help the formerly incarcerated get jobs in
Mhm.
the tech sector. That's something that I'm very passionate about, mass incarceration. So I'm going to be working on that, and that's pretty much the focus for the rest
Mhm.
year, and as well as next year. And
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna hopefully see me do some other cool things. Just be following, like, the IG, and yeah,
Oh, I'm
I'm
following.
gonna continue to thank thank you so much. And just, honestly, Nana, yeah, I'm just looking to just continue to just do great things and win, and just really like up uplift the folks,
Thank you. Thank you for uplifting
you're
the
welcome.
folks all across the board. We really do appreciate you. Nana Yayabua, appreciate you
Thank you
massively
so much.
from the
All
motherland,
right, I love that.
from Ghana, with love.
All right.
Hallelujah. Amen. Thank you for
Thank
saying
you.
yes,
Thank you so
folks.
much. Not yeah.
Beautiful. Folks, you've been watching us,
No, thank you.
myself,
This is
and LeRon.
All right, now this has been a wonderful time. Definitely looking forward to reconnecting again next year. Let's do this again.
Most definitely. I fully agree. I fully agree. Thank you, my dear.
Fan,
Have a beautiful night. Bye bye.
fantastic. Bye bye.